Howdy, welcome back. I'm the Stretch Professor, and today we're going to be doing the patch notes for patch 12.11. So, as always, if you enjoyed the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream. Starts around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually goes until about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a very friendly, chill community. We'd love to have you. And be sure to check out my tier list as well. I'm going to be doing a support and an ADC tier list, and I might do some other roles as well in this patch. Okay, so let's go ahead and get it here. I'll just go ahead and, I don't know why I have the headset on, other than making my hair look marginally better. Just out of habit, I guess. But anyways, let's get in here. So, Bel'Veth, I'm not going to spend the entire video covering her. There's a lot of stuff going on with her. It's kind of like reading a novel. We'll just have to see what kind of builds come out. I haven't watched a lot of All Caps videos. I did read over her abilities. Seems pretty strong. It looks like the one like major concern I had was these Remora that she can spawn, these pets. But I think she only gets them off of Rift and Baron, if I'm reading that correctly. I think her normal transformation does not include it unless it's an enhanced transformation. Because if she can get this early, that would give her obviously like major push advantages in lane. So that leads me to believe, I mean, she's most likely, I mean, we knew this anyways, right? But like top, mid, or jungle. But it's going to make you want to play to the top side to get an early Rift Herald, I think, because if you can get those Remora, like, they just are not going to be able to fight you for 3 minutes, basically. And it's going to give you really, really strong push, especially for crashing that Rift Herald in the early game. So that's one thing that just kind of unique stood out to me. It looks like you do not get it for Dragon, though. So that was one of the main things, is it really wants you to play around topside if you want to go for the Void Remora push. It's empowered by Baron minions, too, so she could be pretty good at closing out games. If you push a Baron wave all the way up to the tower, it seems like it's going to be extremely hard for most champions to clear that outside of something like a Nivea. So, anyways, that aspect looks good, but we'll just have to see the rest of it. Like, this Void Surge, being able to cast it, like, effectively 4 times seems a little on the strong side. And she really wants bonus attack speed, but also, like, physical damage. So she's one of those champs that does magic damage on several abilities, magic and or true damage. But most of it scales off of AD. So, if I had to guess, I would say she's going to be something like a Ginsu, Blade of the Ruined King, Kraken. I don't know the exact order you would buy those in. Maybe it's Blade of the Ruined King first. But that type of champion, where it's like on hit, but also has some physical damage on it, I would imagine is going to be her build. I mean, maybe she has enough damage in her kit where she can just get away with going tanky stuff, or semi-tanky stuff like Death's Dance. Maybe, I don't know if she would go Gore Drinker or not. She does have some lifesteal built into her kit. She likes the attack speed, though. I don't know. I'm not 100%. My initial thought is she probably won't be insane early on, just because people try to figure out how to play her, and she looks kind of complicated. Her base stats are pretty good, though. But I think that she could be really good. I don't know if it's going to happen this patch or not, but I think that she could be pretty good. Strikes me probably as a jungler, an assassin jungler type. I mean, you could lane with her, but it seems like a jungle is just if I was forced to guess where she'd go. Okay, Ophelios. Bonus attack speed is up a little bit. Okay, bonus lethality is up a little bit. I think he has to choose one of these when he levels, and I don't think this is enough to bring him back in. I mean, the bottom line is he's an immobile, like, pretty squishy ADC that doesn't synergize super well with a lot of items anymore. They did nerf his interaction. He used to be really good with Kraken, but they've nerfed that. And I just think he takes too many items to come online. I think he's an Infinity Edge user that, you know, you want to go something like Shield Bow into Hurricane or Phantom Dancer into Infinity Edge. And I just don't know if the payoff is there as much as it is with something like like Jinx or someone a little more straightforward. Like, you really have to play around his guns, and your team has to understand those power levels and also play around your guns. So you need to fight when you have red, white, and a lot of your other guns, they have good utility, but you have really small windows, and you have to manage it appropriately depending on what your team needs. Usually the red-white for the team fighting, but there might be some times where you need the purple gun for engage or whatever. It just requires a lot of knowledge of the champ, and your teammates also have to have knowledge of the champ and what your team's trying to do, and play around those very specific windows with specific guns. So, yeah, it's just too much work, I think, to make him happen in solo queue under Diamond. Okay, Brand. I didn't think Brand was too much of a problem last batch. I guess other people did. Okay, they're tapping him a little bit. It's fine, I suppose. I mean, he does use Leandries very well because the Blaze passive continually triggers Leandries. So that's probably, one sort of issue. But at the end of the day, he's also super squishy. And there are really good AP magic resist items out there right now. Most notably Force of Nature that more and more champions are getting. You also have Wit's End. So I guess that's fine. There are other early pressure champs that are similarly pretty strong, like Senna. They are tapping Senna a little bit. Zyra's pretty good too, if you want that type of thing. But anyways, okay, Katelyn. Now this one looks pretty meaningful, I think. Maybe. It's an interesting change. So we've got physical damage off of the Q going up at later ranks quite a bit. That's what, 35? And then getting an extra 15% total AD. So that could be up to 50 extra damage on that Q. That's really going to help you start popping, especially around level 9 when you have that maxed out. So you definitely want to max the Q. I think that's what people have been doing for quite a long time. There have been some metas where people have been doing traps. Sorry about that. There have been metas where people have been doing some traps, but I think you want to max the Q. And now that it's cheaper, you can afford to throw more as well. So pretty good. I think Katelyn is not horrible. If you play her, she is an early pressure, but she does have some pretty decent late game with the item scaling these days, and with lethal tempo and things like that. She does have some options, but yeah, I'd say she's definitely not top tier, but that's a pretty big buff. I don't know if that will encourage people to do more of, people were trying out a semi-lethality type of build on her. It's because she does have such high base damage, especially on her ult. But I'm not sure about that. Gale Force seems really good because you can semi-cancel some of your combos. I think you can still do some of that with Gale Force. Anyways, they're giving a pretty big buff to the 90 caliber net as well. It's getting an extra 50 flat damage at max rank. Now, will you max this second instead of traps? I don't know. I mean, it'll be up a lot more. And if you actually hit them with the net, the problem is a lot of times when you're running away, you're not hitting them with the net. You're just trying to get away. I mean, sometimes you do if you get the right angle. But I think this is a cute buff that's not going to be that meaningful. It's basically, if you max this last, it's pretty much going to just be 10 extra damage and then no extra cooldown, basically. So I think this is kind of like a trap, trying to get you to not max the traps. Guess I didn't intend it like that to be a pun, but yeah, I just don't think it's something you're going to want to do most of the time, although maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you max the second. Gives you maybe a higher guaranteed burst window than the traps, but the traps are really, really important. Okay, Fizz. Extra growth, a little bit of extra health at max level, a little bit of mana growth. That's fine. I mean, I think that he just can't burst people out as easy as he used to, and there are other champions. I think Ahri's taking a lot of his thunder right now. Just another super mobile champion that can also one-shot you in the right conditions, but she's just a little more versatile. Sadie, you gotta move, honey. Just sitting right in front of the screen. There you go. Okay, Gragas. QAP scaling. A little bit of extra AP ratio. Okay, that's probably not going to matter. I think a lot of people are doing kind of bruiser builds with Gragas anyways. The cooldown by 1 second maybe matters a little bit. Body slam. That's interesting because it's down early by 2 seconds, but it's the same later. I just don't think it's going to matter. He just doesn't have quite enough damage to hang. I mean, like, I have seen some people playing him top, but like, he can stop mobility. He does have an engage tool, but he doesn't have true damage. He doesn't have percentage max health damage. Doesn't have, like, armor shred. It just feels like he's kind of a disruptor. Like, his best place would be something like support, maybe jungle, but I don't think these help him that much in those roles. So, we'll see. I just don't think he can really hang top lane with a lot of other champs these days. Okay, Gwen. She definitely can hang, and she definitely needs some nerfs at a high level. I think in, like, Platinum Minus, she's probably okay in a lot of situations, but... Okay, I'm glad they're nerfing her Mist, because I think this is one of the biggest problems with her. I think the rest of her kit is fine, but this basically being able to go invulnerable is troublesome. I don't know why it gives resist in the first place. Like, the fact that you can't be touched by ranged champions, that you almost have like a Xin Zhao ultimate. It's probably even better than Xin Zhao, because you also can't be CC'd during it. I don't know if Xin Zhao can be CC'd by like an Ash Arrow or something during it or not, but I don't understand. It's like a basic ability that's already super strong, so why do you even get resist, period? So yeah, I mean, they should just get rid of that, but at least they're nerfing it. And the cooldown. Okay, I think that's fine. I think she'll probably still be on the strong side. At least this is doing per level, I get, or per point that you put into it, not per your level. So that means that it's probably going to be ranked 12 for a while, unless people actually put points into it. But that might also mean this cooldown increase doesn't matter if people don't max this second, which they probably won't, right? I mean, you want to, like, her Q, I think, the snip thing, and then the dash, I would imagine you would want to max. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Gwen, but if this is what you max third, then you're basically just taking off 8 armor and magic resist, and then the cooldown's not going to matter. Okay. And then you get a little bit of a refund on your first attack with the E skipped and slash. Okay. At least they're paying attention to her. Alright, Irelia healing is going up. I still think this champ can be potentially pretty good, especially with the buffs to play the Ruined King, but cooldown is down a little bit on Flawless Duet. Okay, that's probably fine. Kane. Okay, so his red form, I think Kane's fine. So what, they're barely tapping his Q? Okay. Kog'maw, they definitely need to nerf this champ. It's just way too strong now, which I predicted. I said I thought Kog'maw would be the #1 ADC. And I think that's correct, at least in Platinum and lower. I think he has one of the highest win rates. So armor and magic resist down a little bit. Passive bonus attack speed. So he's basically losing 5% attack speed. The shred is kind of whatever. It's like 2% shred. But losing the 1% on the Bioarcane Barrage. This does matter, especially at later levels. I'm not sure it's enough. Maybe. I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up. If you think about it in just like, what's the percent of the percent there, right? Like, you're losing 1% off of 7. That's basically 14% of your damage off of your W. And the way that stacks with Gensu's, where every third attack gets you 2 hits, or is it every other? It might be every other attack gets you a second hit. I can't remember. But, like, Kog'Maw's big, like, the big balancing problem with Kog'Maw is Gensu's, and I think they're going to have to nerf Gensu. Like, they need to just make Gensu's a mythic item. Like, 2,800 gold, tinker with the stats, make it a mythic. Like, they need a mythic for on-hit champions. Because there are several champs that have that option in their kit, and they want to be able to do it. So, the mythics had been kind of weird, because people were thinking, well, there's just really not a good mythic for on-hit. You do have Kraken, but it has crit on it too. So I think that Gensu would be a good ambassador for that, or Blade of the Ruined King. But I just think 2,600 gold is just too cheap. I think 3,000 is a bit much. I think 2,800 would be a good spot. So make it 2,800. If you need to give it a couple extra stats or whatever. But the fact that his build is so cheap, where you can go 2600 on Ginsu's and then 2600 on Hurricane, is just too much. I think that's just too fast. Most other ADCs, you know, their items are going to be 3200 or 3400 depending on what they're doing, and that just allows him to come online and start dominating in the early game or in the mid game faster than he should. I think being a late game immobile powerhouse is probably okay, but I think he just gets there too fast. Okay, so I think the Ginsu is the problem more so than the W. I don't know if they can nerf the W anymore. I think that would just completely throw him out if you took it down to 5, probably. And I think Ginsu's the big problem. Okay, it's not a big problem like every champ, but there are a few select champions where Ginsu does create some major balance issues, and Kog'Maw is one of them. Okay, Lee Sin, base AD +2. Okay, so they're just giving him more kill power. I've said on my wish list that I wish they would just turn him into more of a utility jungler, where he like has bigger shields or lower cooldowns, or they bring back his cripple so people lose their attack speed when he hits them with the E. I think that would be really fun, but I know people also just like one-shotting and killing people with Lee Sin, so that's probably going to be the direction they try to go in. Okay. So giving him a little bit of extra just base damage, I think that's probably fine. Lilia, now this champ has been really strong. I forgot about just how strong she can be, because I think she can build some utility items and still be pretty good too. So she has a % max health, but then she can also go Leandries. That's been pretty strong. So they're nerfing her base health. Okay. 650 is a lot for a champion that's supposed to be that agile. And a little bit of the AP scaling. Okay. So if you want to go for more... But does a lot of her damage come from just AP? I feel like it's burn damage that matters more than anything else, but... Okay. Master Yi, HP growth decreased, E true damage on hit decreased. Okay, so you're basically losing 12 true damage. I think he's still going to be too strong. I mean, they're taking away 6 HP, but he still gets the base 60 and much higher scaling than he had in the past. So, as far as like HP scaling. And again, there's just so many toxic hybrid items that he can get that make him so difficult to kill. Between Wit's End, Maw of Malmortius, Death's Dance, you know, he pretty much just needs Kraken and then just gets a bunch. I've just seen him even build straight up tank items, Randuins, that type of crap once he gets 1 or 2 offensive items. Just the fact that he can pretty much go untargetable with that Q, gets those resets, and just how much that true damage scales with the double strike, particularly with Ginsu's. It's just really, really good. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's like the platinum, gold, silver special. Like, you're not going to see him in pro. But he definitely is a menace. And I think they just need to change this over to physical damage instead of true damage. That would be better. Or, like, percentage max health damage. True damage is so toxic in general because it's good against squishy champions and tanks. I think if you want somebody to have a tank buster, it needs to be percentage max health. I think that's a much healthier way to do it. And it needs to interact with armor. If he wants armor pen, he can go get a Lord Dominic's or you know, something like that. Okay. Nuno and Willem, I feel like they're okay right now. I don't know the win rate, but they're calling him like a burst tank. I think of him more as like early ganker, but really a disruptor late game. Like, he's not supposed to one-shot people late game with the snowball. Anyways, okay, Snowball Barrage is lower cooldowns. Okay, you max that second, so that's pretty good. By level 9 or 10, you'd have more of these. 90% AP, okay, and then 10% bonus health, okay. And then you're getting a little bit more healing. It's just the scaling, though. That's fine. I don't think he necessarily needed any buffs. Okay, Olaf, please tell me you're nerfing the hell out of this. Okay, sort of. Olaf has just been ridiculous lately, and the big part of it is he gets so much healing, and he gets that freaking shield. So you have healing, shielding, you usually have to get through Death's Dance, sometimes either Sterix or Maw Malmortius, Like, there's just so much BS you have to go through with this champion. And the fact that that's just always up, that the healing is always there, right? You don't even have to activate your W anymore to get the healing, is kind of goofy. So, they're nerfing the lifesteal a little bit. I don't know if that's enough. Undertow, they're increasing the damage. That's probably fine. That is his skill shot. Minimum time. Okay, so you can throw more Qs and do more damage if you hit him. That's fair. I think he should be a berserker. I don't feel like he should be a tank. Like, right now he's playing like a tank that just kills all the other tanks. I think he should be someone, you know, like a traditional berserker. He's very vulnerable, but does a hell of a lot of damage. I think that's what they should be emphasizing, is increases damage, decreases tankiness. If people want to play a tank, they can play something else that doesn't do so much damage. Okay, tough it out. So that's the shield, and I don't remember what else it does, but probably not going to matter. Because I think you're maxing that last in most scenarios. I don't know. I feel like it's either you max the Q or you max the true damage on the E. Again, has true damage in his kit. Toxic AF. but okay, Ragnarok, lowering the resist a little bit. It's still really good. Used to get no resist on it. And again, why does he have that? When he goes berserk, he's already unCCable, has a ton of lifesteal, has at least one shield, if not multiple shields, gets bonus movement speed. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, and it already lasts an infinite amount of time if he keeps hitting people with his E. It's like, what is the thought process here? Like, I liked when he ulted that he lost those resists. It made him vulnerable, but he does a lot of damage, and that's what it should be. I mean, they should maybe give him a mechanic almost like Triumph or something. Like, make him very vulnerable, but if he kills somebody, then he heals, right? Like a, you know, Death's Dance, Triumph, you know, something like that type of themed W, I think would make more sense than just a flat-out shield or flat-out just life-stealing. Okay. I feel like there should be more risk to him. Okay, Recon. Yes. Now, this is huge, I think, for Recon. And I honestly don't think Recon needed this much, but I'll take it. Okay, so Gleaming Quill. 12 extra healing early is actually pretty substantial in lane, because you can hit a few of these Qs, and it feels like it doesn't do a lot, but it does heal for like a little bit early on. But now its baseline is 30, and it's probably going to move up to 40 fairly early on. And that's really good, because remember, he also gets a shield, right, that comes back every now and then, you know, usually once per wave if you're landing a couple of Qs, for an additional amount of, you know, protection. So this is going to give him a lot more kind of sustain against poke, and because remember, it heals your ally too. It's not just 30, it's really 60 healing, because it's you and your ally. I kind of wish they'd lower the cooldown on it a little bit too, but Grand Entrance, 2 seconds at all ranks. This is actually really big because he has very long cooldowns early on, and even later on, once you get a lot of ability haste, just having that W up a second time is a really big deal. Especially now, because you might be able to use it to get to the fight, to jump over a wall or something, and then have it ready like right when you show up.
How much longer are you?
I don't know, 20 minutes.
Okay, German Gem coming to get their keyboard back. Part of it's in the basement.
Okay.
So, is it clean, or can you go get the...
No, I can't do it. I'm in the middle of something.
Okay, but can you get it when you're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Battle Dance. So this is pretty big too. So you're saving a lot of mana on this, which means you don't have to worry about a mana item as much. So if you do want to go for a Locket, or I forgot that other item that debuffs the enemy, like for the 9% extra damage. If you want to do that thing, this is going to help those builds out a lot. Because now you don't have to worry as much about getting mana. Because if you go Locket and then you go something like Knight's Vow, and you don't have any mana, then you can go really quickly. So it's not like it's going to be super easy. on your mana, but it's definitely going to help a ton. Now, you usually max your shield second. With these buffs, there might be some scenarios where you would max it first. Or get 3 points in W, then max shield. I'm not sure. But this is definitely going to be a very, very big deal. And then the shield strength as well, getting 15 extra. That's huge. Remember, he gets 2 of these. That's 300 shield. A very big deal on the shield. So, yeah, going to be pretty strong on Recon. And they're also buffing his items. We'll talk about that later, but 2 of my favorite items that to get on him are like Zeke's and Knight's Vow, and they're giving both of those some really good love. So we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's looking very, very nice for Recon on this patch. Okay, Rengar minus 35 base health. That's a big deal. 655 is a lot for basically an assassin, but that's going to hurt him in early fights. And then 20 seconds late game. It's not affecting his early game, so it does allow him to still snowball. I think those are probably good buffs. He has been performing pretty well, I think, with some of the changes. Which is weird because, you know, he can't, or it's harder to one-shot people, but maybe he was just overkilling people with certain items, or maybe there's a bruiser build out there that's doing pretty well. I'm not sure, but okay. I have seen him play top lane a few times and be somewhat successful. Okay, Ryze still has a super low win rate, so, I mean, it's just always going to be that way in solo queue. People just never play him correctly. Just the nature of his ultimate, right, where it's really best used in a team scenario with communication, it's just going to make him weaker in solo queue. Okay, damage, spell flux. What is the bonus? Okay, 5% extra AP, mana cost. Mana cost going down kind of matters, but I think your Q is what you spam. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played Ryze. I don't think it's going to matter too much in the long run. I think he's still not going to be fantastic in solo queue unless you're a one trick, maybe. But could be good in pro. I don't know. I don't think it's going to matter too much. Okay, Samira, 80 growth. They say right here, just really quickly, they want to make him feel good in solo queue without dominating pro. Then you need to change something about his ult, like maybe nerf his ult, something like that, or his wave clear, and like buff his early fighting. I don't know, something like that would probably be a better call. Okay, Samira, AD growth increased, Q AD scaling increased. Okay, probably not going to matter that much. Late game, I mean, at level 13, you probably get 3 extra AD. I mean, she does have good AD ratios, but I just don't think that's going to matter too much. The Flare, 5% extra AD scaling. Don't think it's going to matter. I think she's playable, but she's okay. I don't think she needs that much. I think she's like maybe B tier. Okay. Senna, AD Senna is going to be better now, because now you're going to get some more souls off of minions, like actually killing the minions. But Piercing Darkness, the slow is going down by 5% early, which again, that's 25% slower than where it is right now, so I think that's fair. And then the slow duration, now this is the big one. It's going down to 1 second early instead of 2. But as you put more points into the queue, which is what you max first, it goes up. So, you know, level 5, it's going to be half a second slower for some of your like kill opportunities. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know why I'm trying to do that like mid video, but okay, maybe that looks a little bit better. I think she'll still be really good. I don't think this changes the fact that her scaling is still really high as a support, because they're not changing the rates for support. There are some situations where you do want a last hit if you're having to cover a lane too, so that might give you a little bit more souls. And then this does hit her utility, but it doesn't hit her overall scaling, and I think that's a fair way to do it. She just has an excess amount of utility, I feel like, for how much damage she does like later in the game, and then also how much pressure she can put out early. Okay, Swain, healing is going down a little bit. Visions of Empire, damage going down a little bit. And then Demonic, the healing per tick is going down. So that matters, but you have to keep in context they're also nerfing grievous wounds across the board. So fewer and fewer people are going to get grievous, and when they do, it's going to be a lot less healing. 10% less healing than it was. So you have to put that in context. This is about 10% less healing per tick, I think. And then this is a little bit more. 14% less healing at max rank. But most people are not going to be getting Grievous as... Well, I don't know. It's tough. It's basically to counterbalance the Grievous wounds. They don't say it here, but it's somewhat neutral, I think. Like, the W is a flat nerf, but these are about neutral based on the Grievous wound nerfs, which we'll talk about in a second. So, I think he'll still be pretty good in situations where he's already good. Silas, why are they, like, making him play around this ability? This is such a freaking toxic ability. Does damage on a low cooldown, and it heals him for like 500 or something. So now they're giving him even more healing, and remember, they're nerfing Grievous Wounds a lot, so effectively he's going to have even 10% more healing. And this is not the big problem as the base. It's the percentage of, like, health that he's missing that he heals that's the problem. So, I don't know. I've seen this guy, like, some games just be, like, turbo toxic, and I just don't think that's a good play style where he can get... like one mythic damage item and then get something like Zhonya's Hourglass, Spirit Visage, Randuin's. I don't know if he always gets Randuin's, but just get all of these like defensive items and still do a hell of a lot of damage. And be unkillable. Okay, Abscond's cooldown is going down a little bit so you can go for more grabs. That's good. I wish they would balance him more around catching people with the E and killing them with your Q, with your chains, and not his survivability. I think the Assassin... high damage playstyle is healthier than his bruiser playstyle. Okay. Tom Kench. Extra bonus health damage. So that'll be good for later. That's probably fine. I mean, the thing is, it's just like later he's basically an ultimate on a stick. He doesn't feel like he does enough late game. A little bit more healing in the laning phase. Like 10 more. That's nice early on. You can't really give him a lot more damage. They've tried to make his AP, like, if they made his gray skin scale with AP or something like that, that would be interesting. But he just, like, doesn't quite have enough AP scaling, I think, or there's just, like, not enough AP builds for him. I don't know. And then Devourer is... getting a pretty big buff at 150, so you'll still see him, like maybe in some pro comps where it's like protect the Kog'maw, protect the Jinx, that type of thing. But I don't think he's going to be that great in solo queue right now. He just gets crushed by enchanters. There's anything that can peel. Okay, Talia. This champion is turbo overpowered right now, in my opinion, so I hope they just nerf the hell out of her. Okay, and the main thing are those stupid rocks where they added that it's a stun when someone goes across the rocks. Like, it's not already enough that it does damage if someone goes across the rocks. It has to have a 2-second stun on it and be on a super low cooldown late game. Like, I think those rocks, if they want to make it into a stun or something, it needs to only last for like 2 seconds instead of 4 seconds. It just creates too much of a dead zone. Okay. Base stats... down 20 health. Okay, so if you do get to her, you can kill her more. Cooldown is going up a little bit. It's half a second at max rank. I guess half a second at all ranks. If you hit somebody with one rock, it does 120. The max is getting tapped a little bit. I mean, I guess that's significant. 26 damage. Over 300 damage, though, on a base ability that you can pretty much spam with 130% AP ratio is still too much damage, in my opinion. The single boulder damage is 228. That's another change that's interesting, but it's just taken away one of her major weaknesses. Like, her major weakness has been, okay, you can do a lot of damage up front, but you're not going to be able to do it that often because of the worked ground. You can't use a good Q. And you have to find these like new angles and try to bait people into these new angles to get the max damage. Well, now if you just throw a boulder, it removes that. So, and the boulder itself does damage and provides a slow, which sets up for the rest of your kit. So that boulder mechanic that they added, it's just too strong. It needs to do far less damage if it's going to have that kind of utility of cleaning up the worked ground, which I think it does that, and applying the slow. So this is like sort of in the right direction, but I think it's just too much. What? Now her E, now they really want her to be able to jungle. Now her E does like a lot of extra damage. So she deals damage and she can't use her R to cut people off, I guess. Okay, I think she needs more nerfs. Alright, Tarik. Heal per charge. The mana cost is nice. This probably means he doesn't have to buy mana items as often. So now he can go, Knight's Vow. I think maybe they need to give him, like, either more survivability so he can afford to go, like, a Irelia's to actually start a real fight. Or, what is this? I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out the camera thing another time, I guess. But I thought I had it set up. Maybe Rory bumped it. There we go. Maybe that'll stay. But right now, I don't know. Like this buff to the E is very nice. And now maybe he can fight a lot more in the laning phase. I mean, 2 seconds is a pretty big deal off of this because every time he auto attacks, it lowers it by like a second. And the stun duration being 1.5 is a pretty big deal. So they aren't like buffing the damage amount on it, because remember they took off 50 back in the day. Last time he was meta, the E used to do like 50 more damage. It might also have been the lower cooldown as well. I'm not sure. But okay, they're helping out the E, which is what you want to max. This probably doesn't matter as much. Like, usually you only put 2 points into this just because of the way that you attack and like how you want to use this to continue doing your auto attacks. Like usually it's like E, stun 'em, attack, Q, attack, W, attack, E, attack, Q, that type of thing to like get these charges. It was something like that. It's been a while since I played Tarik. But typically you don't want to be paying, like you're using it at 2 stacks anyways most of the time. So this is not going to be that much of a bigger heal in like real combat scenarios. And the mana cost is like okay, but it's really just like 10 instead of 25. So anyways, I think like you actively did not want to level it up, because it would cost you more mana for the same amount of healing if it only has 2 charges instead of 5. But, anyways. Okay, at least they're changing him a little bit. That's good. Okay, Tryndamere, a little bit extra healing. Base heal per Fury stack is up a little bit. Actually, that's up pretty significantly. I guess that's okay. I mean, I'm cool if Tryndamere's not in the meta. They're like, wait, he was played in Pro recently. Let's see if we can help him out. Okay. And then the Undying Rage cooldown is down a little bit. Those look pretty good for him. Okay, Vegar. They need a nerf E. Okay, thank you. 21 armor for armor growth is kind of whatever. Extra cooldown on Horizon, but not at max rank. The thing is, like, you can get this thing down to like 8 seconds with like 50 ability haste or something, which is not like super hard to get on him. I don't know. He can feel really overwhelming in certain matchups where people don't have like blinks to get out of it. And he does quite a bit of damage, but he is really kind of squishy. I don't know. I guess this is fine. They are nerfing the Everfrost, so he can't set up his E stun as easily. So maybe they think that's enough. Everfrost plus the E nerf. Okay. I think that this should either last a little bit, it should be a shorter duration, or preferably the stun should not be as punishing. Like a 3-second stun is ridiculous. in 2022. That's like a season 1 type of thing. I think like a 2.25 would be fine. And then I don't know where else they could give him power in his kit, but just something else. Okay. Wukong W cooldown, probably not going to matter, right? This is what you max last, so it's basically a 2 seconds extra cooldown. You go over a wall with it, and then you just gotta fight most of the time. I guess you'd have to wait. If you want to wait on it, you'd have to wait an extra 2 seconds in the bush, but it's probably not viable most of the time. You're usually probably just going over a wall and just running at them, trying to get a gank if it's jungle Wukong. And then the Nimbus Strike, doing a little bit less damage to monsters, might hurt his wave clear. I think he'll still be really strong. This is mostly just for jungle. I think he's still good top lane. He's just so strong with a lot of the items that are out there right now. He's just got the whole kit. He's got, Armor Crush to help out against tanks. Does pretty high base damage, has pretty high base stats. His ultimate obviously stops mobility for a long period of time. CCs people for a pretty long period of time. He has 2 different mechanics to catch people, with Nimbus Strike to stick to them, W to gain extra movement speed, and it's just too much. He's still too strong. Okay, Xin Zhao. 10% extra AD. Okay, a little bit extra on the passive. Sadie's watching. You guys can't see it, but she's looking at the screen now. The thrust damage is going up a little bit. I think that's probably fine. I mean, he's a pretty good fighter. Watching the mouse. He's a pretty good fighter overall. I don't know why people have gone away from him. Maybe he got nerfed and I'm just not remembering it. But okay. Zeri doing a little bit more damage on her Q. Charge damage is the same? A little bit more AP scaling. Okay, a little bit more scaling overall. But now it doesn't give a slow, which I don't know how much that matters, but completely removing a slow is kind of a big deal. A 50% slow. I mean, that's probably at least 1 less Q. Right, so that's a big damage hit. Because if they're slowed 50%, you got to assume you're going to be able to hit them with 1 more Q pretty much automatically. So that feels pretty significant. Ultra Shock Laser is up a little bit more. The slow is far slower. Cooldown is a little shorter. And if it goes over a wall, you can critically strike champions and monsters. Now that strikes me as a little weird, because that's a lot of extra damage potentially. But you're not going to max that, I don't think. Because yeah, I mean, you could 150% of your total AD. I mean, you could one-shot people with that thing. If you have like 200 AD, that's like 450. If you hit someone over a wall and it crits, it's a lot. It's like 700, 800 damage or something. It does have kind of a long cooldown, so it's going to make it a little harder just to spam it. It seems a little weird. I don't know. Like, what are you going for there? I mean, maybe that helped, like, if she wants to clear the jungle and you time that right, maybe that helps you clear raptors, golems. It just seems really odd. Okay. Spark Surge going down by 4 seconds at all ranks, but whenever you land attacks on people, then it does not go down as much. So I'm pretty sure this is an overall nerf. Pretty sure it's an overall nerf. Because, like, if you attack somebody, was it 4 seconds? I guess you'd have to attack somebody 8 times in that window to make up for 4 seconds. Maybe it's a buff. Okay. Lightning, so I don't know, maybe that is a buff or neutral. So if you hit them like 4 times in between your E, then it would be a buff. But you got to think in like 16 seconds, you're probably going to be able to hit them 8 times. But if you hit them 8 times, they might just be dead. So obviously it's going to be better if you're not actively hitting people. If you're just using it as an escape and trying to run, it's going to be better. But if you're like in combat, hitting tons of people over and over again, like in a team fight, maybe it's not as good. Okay, lightning crash, lower cooldown early. Your movement speed per stack is going down quite a bit. Good. I think they just needed to like nerf this first with the rest of her kit and like maybe change a couple of interactions with like her chain lightning not applying on hit or something like that. And I think that would have been a better place than like going through all of this. Like they've changed her like 50 times since release. Okay, grievous wounds. Bramble Vest doesn't matter that much. Basically what they're doing is they're giving its lower grievous wounds across the board going down to 25% and then 40% respectively. So quite a big nerf there. And that does apply to non-items as well, like Ignite, Katarina Varus, etc. Bramble Vest doesn't matter that much. 4 extra magic damage to the attackers, whatever. But Thornmail is pretty interesting because now this is scaling with 20% of your bonus armor being reflected back to the attacker instead of 10%. So now if you have like 200 armor with Thornmail, you're reflecting back 50 damage. So every time someone auto-attacks you, they're taking 50. So that's pretty significant against some of these other champs that are going to be attacking you pretty quickly. And if you have 300 armor, then it's going to be 70 damage reflected. So that item could potentially be quite good. That's a lot of extra damage. Okay, Executioner's Calling. Changing a little bit. Mortal Reminder, whatever. You only have to hit twice instead of 3 times. Kenpo Chainsaw. Now this one's interesting. It's 10 extra AD and 10 extra ability haste. So you might just want to get that anyways. In a lot of situations. I mean, that's a good bargain, I think. I mean, I haven't looked at the exact value proposition of it, but that's an extra 260 gold or so value on the ability haste, and 10 right there is like 360. So that's like 600 something gold for free on this. It's pretty damn good. So there might be more champs to look at. Now, it doesn't have lethality on it. It doesn't have crit. So I don't know. But it's almost free to get this at this point. Like, to get the grievous wounds. Just the normal stats on it are very good. Oblivion Orb is changing. Morellonomicon is getting 50 extra health, 90 ability power, or plus 10 ability power. So that's giving you like 220 gold value plus 100 and change, 130. So that's giving you like 350 extra gold value. So there might be more opportunities to get this. You're only getting 5 extra ability power here, which is like 100 gold on the Putrefier. It was already one of the better items in general, though. But it would have been nice if they would have given at least 10. Come on, man. But I'm biased because I like Recon, and Recon is pretty good with this item. But anyway, so not really a great change there. But the Morello, the Chainsword, and the Thornmail are all looking pretty good. Crown of the Shattered Queen getting extra 10. That's good. Thank God they're nerfing this item. This thing is so stupid. So it's 1 second now, which is a big deal. It should be a 1 minute cooldown too, but we'll take it. Leandri's is 50 base damage, but the same scaling, the same max health. It'd probably still be pretty good. Night Harvester is going extra 10 ability haste. It's okay. The per champion cooldown, that's once per wave. That's good, but you got to remember they nerfed the damage on this a lot. Like when it first came out, it used to be like averaging between 200 to 250 damage like immediately, and now it's like 125. So pretty significant, significantly less burst. Okay, then ability power on Riftmaker is down by 10. That's probably fair. This item is pretty strong on a lot of the sustained damage dealers because again, true damage is not a balanced stat, so it should have a higher opportunity cost. Okay, Balmy Cinder. So they're making it easier to get the wave clear with tanks earlier, which is probably a good idea. Frostfire is getting an extra 100 health. I don't know, that item, I might leave that one alone. That one's pretty damn good. Like, I could see them buffing Kim Tank and maybe Sunfire, but this item is already, like, a go-to really strong item in a lot of scenarios. Okay, Abyssal Mask, getting a little bit of extra resist. It's not affecting how much you shred off of the enemy, so that's kind of whatever. 10 ability haste on Night's Vow is massive, though. It's really, really good. I mean, that's an extra, like, 260 gold value. Now, these items were a little under budget. Like, they're all, like, 80 or 90% efficiency, not including their passive. So, bringing them up to 100, I think, is good. Considering a lot of offensive, like, big-ticket items are now between 100 to 120. Especially shit like Gore Drinker's, like, 130. Or it was. I haven't looked recently. But with how crazy a lot of the other items are in other roles, I'm glad they're showing the supports a little bit of love here. Okay, so Knight's Vow is that. Randuin's gets an extra 10 armor, which is pretty good. Spirit Massage 10 here, which is fine, but no one's... I mean, most people are just going to get Force of Nature because that item's just busted right now. And then Zeke's getting an extra 10 armor is pretty significant as well. So both of these are really good on Recon, and they're really good on, like, most other... I mean, Recon's not a tank, but, like, the other tank supports that need a little help right now, the Leona, the Nautilus, that type of thing. It's looking pretty good. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Doesn't make them OP. This adds a little bit of extra utility. Especially the ability haste on Knight's Vow is so good. Because now you might even be able to get this on other enchanters and things like that if you want to have some more anti-assassin tech. Fighter items, Death Stance, good. Glad they're nerfing that. Items, obnoxious. It shouldn't even heal based on any AD ratio. It should just be how much damage you've taken gets refreshed. I think that's good enough, but anyways, Blade lifesteal is up a little bit. Okay, keep in mind this is just the completed item, so the early Vamp Scepter is still nerfed. Okay, Maw, yes, bring that up to, it should be at least 75. It really should be 90 seconds, but okay. Sterix, it's kind of hard to tell. I guess a little buff is okay, but I don't know. That item's just so toxic to begin with. Just like AD, HP, and a huge ass shield on it, I think it's not a good concept. Gore Drinker, okay, that's fine. Little buff there. Kraken, it's going down by 10, which is okay. And a little bit less scaling. That's probably fine. Umbral Glaive, 5 seconds extra. What a joke. It needs to be a minimum 60. That item's just too strong in a lot of situations, I think. But not that many champions use it, but the ones that do get a lot of benefit out of it. And then outer turns are doing less damage. Good. They're just doing way too much early, I feel like. In-game chat disabled unless you enable it. I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you don't want to mess with chat from the enemy team or your team, like, why would it be enabled in post-game when it's not enabled in the game? So, I think that's a good move. Okay, anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Come by, check out the stream. Starts around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night, and I'll see you then. Have a good day.